In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys the one lever that you can pull inside of your business that can potentially 5 to 10x your growth over the next 12 months. Now, I've personally partnered with dozens of businesses in the space, and they've done anywhere from 7 to 8 figures plus per year. And if there's one common theme that I see most of them suffering from, it's that they're building their business backwards. And today, we're going to unravel how you, as the founder, can get off that content hamster wheel and finally start to build a business that can grow without you. So, without further ado, let's dive into it. The first thing that we'll talk about on our way to try to 5 to 10x our growth is going to begin with the growth trap that we see many creators in this space getting themselves into, right? And so, what I mean by that is usually if you're an organic brand and you're starting off and you're building content, you're eventually going to find yourself on this continuous treadmill, right? Whereas if you stop posting content, your revenue is also going to dip. Now, I don't mean this in any shape or form that you want to stop posting or get away from posting content. One of the strongest levers in business and in our industry and space as a whole is distribution, right? Anyone that can unlock distribution has a huge advantage. So if anything, you definitely want to keep doubling down on building your personal brand. It's what all the biggest entrepreneurs are even focusing on right now, is building a brand more than ever. Now, what I mean is, in terms of how you can tackle this, is you don't want to build a business that relies solely on you as the founder, right? And early on, when you're starting off, it's okay because there's only room to go upwards. But once you crack that first 7 figures, ideally, that's where you want to start building a moat inside of your business that allows you to function and keep scaling revenue even if you didn't exist. Now, the other thing is, when it comes to content and getting distribution, is I've noticed there's guys in our space who are getting millions of views on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all combined, and none of that translates into dollar value. And then on the flip side, I've also seen people that have had email lists less than 10,000 people, and they've produced millions in revenue. So the other thing here is that you see that a lot of creators end up finding themselves having to chase higher highs and keep scaling the traffic that they're accumulating. But the problem that they're also creating for themselves is, if they're not focused on being effective with who they're attracting, it's going to limit them in the trajectory of how far they can take their business, right? The quality of the individuals that you are bringing in, and this is going to tie into the next point, is going to matter aggressively in terms of how far you can scale, right? And I've noticed guys that have to play this game over here have to keep climbing for millions and millions of views, and they'll only be able to monetize about 1 to 3% of that. And so there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just always a fan of building a business that requires less effort, more upside, less risk, and higher margins than having to play this continuous treadmill of posting content and getting views and getting popular for the wrong reasons, right? Whereas, if you can build an audience and attract the right type of people, you can still unlock a lot more on the revenue side and still grow the brand equivalently to someone over here, right? So some brands are filled with more noise, others are filled with more power, and positioning plays a big role in that. So you want to make sure that if you are pursuing this, you don't want to keep striving for the wrong viewers. So how do we fix this, right? If you find yourself here, if this sounds any sort of like, similar to where you are right now or relatable to you, there's only one way to do that and to get out of that treadmill. And that's to increase the LTV which means lifetime value of your client or customers. And so what that means is, back to the discussion that we were talking about in terms of quality, you want to make sure that you are able to keep getting more per individual rather than having to keep accumulating volume of people in order to make the same amount as you did last month or the last year, right? You'd rather focus on getting the individual in your content pool or in your business that can at least start off here as someone who spent a small amount, but then eventually has the ability to give you a lot more in return, right? Now, in order to achieve this, it really comes down to one thing. And so if we break down the core departments of a business, and so we can say we got marketing over here, we have sales, we have operations, fulfillment, and then I guess we can also make one for content here if you have like a strong media arm, right? That's like the general overview any business or brand will have, right? Now, what I notice with most creator brands is that they'll have all of these departments. However, they're probably more deep on the marketing, content side, or sales side. And their business is more tipped towards this side than having equal balance throughout, right? Usually, most creator led businesses stop right here after the sales is achieved, right? The first time someone purchases from you, that's where most creator businesses stop. And then they go back to the top over here to get more views, drive more marketing, push for more sales, and then circle back. Now, the businesses that I've seen, and I've seen many lean businesses in our space, in the B2B and the B2C side, where they have less than 12 employees and they're doing tens of millions of dollars a year, but that's because they can charge more per client. And the only way you're going to achieve that is if you have your fulfillment dialed in, right? Your fulfillment goal should be to make sure that the experience when they make that first purchase over here is great. And you want to make sure that's a priority, and that's going to go back down to your product, right? And you can fulfill on the promise that you had here or over deliver on that promise. Because if you don't, what's going to end up happening, and this is where this growth is going to get unlocked, is you're going to create a market for someone else who is willing to create a ecosystem or a structure that will allow someone to charge a lot more from the same individual, but you won't be able to since you didn't prioritize that part of the business, right? So that's where you could potentially leave 5 to 10x of the growth in your offer stack, right? And so the goal here is you want to make sure that you have equilibrium across all departments. And this also goes vice versa. I see people that are very fulfillment heavy and they want to make sure that each client has the most upright experience. And usually those are people that are probably charging the least and probably have the ability to charge the most. It's this phenomenon of, some of the best experts have a hard time charging the most. And it's been a common pattern I've seen. But you don't also want to be in that bucket where you are doing the opposite and you're very fulfillment heavy and you don't have anyone coming into the top of the funnel because this is only going to get so far, right? So there's no right or wrong. There's no being more marketing heavy, sales heavy, content heavy. You need equilibrium across all your departments if you want to unlock this growth. Now, how do we tactically increase LTV? That brings us to the last point, which is going to be doing it through your offer and fulfillment stack. And so ultimately, you want to ask yourself if you need to charge more, right? And before we even get into that, the first thing you want to try to understand is, what's your current offer stack look like? Do you have one main offer right now? Do you have three different offers? And so the reason why this is important is, I'll notice someone that has one offer and they'll try to create a, let's just say this is a high ticket, and they'll create maybe, a low ticket. They'll try to do a mid ticket. And the problem with these is, it's easy to just whip up a new offer and present it to your audience. And your audience is going to gravitate towards anything that's new, because it's that, shiny kind of, subject that's going to gravitate towards them. So everyone initially is going to want to have some sort of attraction to that, but eventually the market will tell you where you stand with that offer, and you'll either plateau, you'll either decline, and if it is a good offer, you will continue to grow. But the problem is, when you're creating new offers, if you're not doing it properly, and we'll talk about how to do that in just a second, you are going to rub shoulders with the other offers that you have, right? So you may end up crippling your high ticket by creating a low ticket or a mid ticket that solves for a similar problem, and there's no clear definition of what someone is going to get when they're purchasing X, and you're promising them whatever result, whether it's financial or whatever your industry is, right? So in order to make sure you have a proper stack, and in order for you to accumulate more lifetime value, you will need to have multiple offers, right? And you will also need to charge more as you climb up the ladder. So how do you structure that, right? So you've probably seen these different staircases. There's only one way to create proper upsells that work. And this is from experience of creating upsells, tons of them within the same niches, and not being able to see proper result. And that was because when you create an upsell again, you don't want to solve the same problem over and over again. You want to make sure that when you are selling someone the first product, they're able to solve that solution, but immediately that will create another problem at a higher level for them. And that's where the second offer kicks in. So you want to do the same thing here, where you want to solve for that problem that you now created by providing them with this solution. And then you keep climbing towards the top. And ultimately, you want to get to the final stack. And, I've seen offers where people have probably, anywhere from 12 to 20 front end offers that they're experimenting with constantly. And each one of those offers is solving a different objection or a different pain point that your audience is having. And then the second solution is going to be the one thing that maybe solves, an advanced layer of that, or it can go a lot deeper, right? Now, ultimately, like we said, as you climb up, you want to figure out how you can charge the most, right? And I've seen offers from anywhere from 50 to even $500,000 from different people in the industry and different niches. And so what I tell people all the time, in terms of whether you're B2C or B2B, there is always going to be someone that's willing to pay for two things at a massive cost around, let's just say 50K plus territory. And the only way someone's going to do that, no matter whether you're B2B or B2C, is going to be two things. They either want more access to you, or they want more customization. What people aren't willing to pay for at a very high ticket level is for products. Products are considered more of a commodity, right? And so a lot of our industry right now is trying to monetize products as high ticket items. And there was a time where you could do that, and that was something that the market demanded. But because there's so much saturation and there's so many products now, these are things that are easily accessible with the amount of free information on YouTube. And then with AI kicking in, products are only getting more and more downgraded over time. And so that's why when you're creating your offer stack, you want to have those products at the first stage. And the goal of those products is to reduce your acquisition cost and to build trust with your audience, so then they can pay you more, right? And so for the brands that are attracting the wrong viewers, they usually have to play the game of charging the most they possibly can, but they probably won't do it or won't be able to charge more than 10K plus unless they're making a very flawed or aggressive guarantee, or they're doing marketing and sales in a very aggressive way. Both of those things invite something called the FTC, which is probably a video that can be made on in itself. But this is an agency that's probably cracking down on info and coaching and the online business space a lot more. And you're going to see those in 2026, where a lot more cases are going to come up with people that are doing aggressive marketing, right? So if you want to protect your reputation and you want to do it the clean way without having to spend a lot to make a lot, this is going to be ultimately the thing, right? So you have to make sure your offer and fulfillment speak very well to each other, where now you're also creating a flywheel that's a lot more positive, right? And some of the biggest companies, Whoop, Tesla, whatever big company, Apple, you can think of, they have a really great offer and fulfillment mechanism that allows them to have one customer bring in at least 3 more into their business. Now, when you can start getting to that point, you've now created a business for yourself that, like we talked about, eliminates you or requires less of you as the founder to show up every single day and put on a show in order for you to hit the metrics that you are, right? Eventually, that flywheel is going to keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And you're going to have to either shift niches, which you see a lot of creators doing, or you're going to have to, again, do a lot more aggressive marketing, which invites a lot of legal issues. And I know a lot of people misinterpret that or say I'm too small. Trust me, it's very easy to be on their radar. And I can probably make a whole video on that in itself. But you probably can be on their radar without you even knowing. And, once you hit a certain scale, then they'll actually launch a full-on investigation for you. So they're monitoring this industry very closely, especially the info side and some of the more, I guess, sketchier niches, if you want to call it. So doing this is only going to prolong those businesses longer and keep you in the game, because if you get eliminated from here, you're just kind of knocked off the chessboard, right? So ultimately, in order for you to charge more, you have to deliver this. Now, how do you deliver more access and customization? So I've seen people offer this, and the other trap creators usually do for themselves is they'll fix one problem and then they'll create another one for themselves by taking another shortcut, which is again going to get you back to square one. So if there's one rule in this game, every shortcut you're going to take, it's going to draw you back just a little bit or maybe a lot, depending on what shortcut you took. But it's just a universal law of business. Like any shortcut you're going to take, it is going to come back and haunt you, right? So how do you deliver more access and customization? There's many ways to do this, and I can make a whole video on this in itself. But the one thing you want to factor in is you don't want to make the horrible decision of offering one-on-one unless it's a very private group, and you're charging a great lump sum and someone's willing to pay. Then I guess that's your personal choice. So you can have that as part of your offer stack, something that's a little bit more hidden and a little bit more exclusive for someone that is demanding it. But you don't want to build a business around you offering one-on-one time, because again, you just created it yourself. You wanted to get yourself out of the business and work less, but now you're working more, and you're giving more time up. So the only way to give more access at scale is going to come down in 2 ways, right? Either you're going to have to do it through a team, right? So you're going to need to hire people that can represent you really well. And the most successful people that I've seen do this is they've had their team also build micro brands where people immediately after buying from you trust you, and they also trust anyone that you recommend to help them get to that result. The only way you're going to be able to do that, again, is if you checked off boxes 1 and 2, and at the 3rd level, anyone or anything that you recommend to this person, they will listen to you. And I'm assuming you've delivered on your promises. They will happily work with anyone from your team or anyone that you recommend that can also give them just enough as a value as you, right? The other way to do it, and this is where things are also going to shift this industry a lot over the next year or so, is going to be AI. So you probably maybe noticed Hermosi, he launched his acquisition AI on his recent launch. And so you want to start building out a model, and I don't just mean like you could do it at a very base level. I won't get into too much of the deep ends of AI, but you want to have some level of AI incorporated into your business today that can replicate you and give answers just as well as you would. And the more curated this is, the more trained your model is, the better you'll be able to scale this. But you've kind of eliminated the team factor. Now you can still have the team factor, but instead of you having to hire maybe 10 people, you can maybe hire a few, maybe 2, 3, and have these people be high level managers for your offers and your fulfillment stack, and have the rest delivered by AI, right? And obviously, again, you want to make sure you have this dialed in before you release it to everyone, but this is something you want to lean into faster, right? So the sooner you accomplish these, you basically unlock more access and customization for people. The other way to do that, if you want to take it up a notch, is incorporating some level of SaaS, right? And you don't have to go out and build a SaaS company, but if you're in a niche that has a SaaS that does really well and has a great reputation and brand, you want to figure out how you partner with that SaaS company to offer your clients a higher chance of success, more customization, and again, access to you, right? And so adding this kind of trifecta really will make your business, again, like we talked about, less reliant on you and still help you achieve 5 to 10x to growth. And you don't have to chase more customers to do so, right? So this is the main flywheel that I see so many people in our space neglecting. And the more they neglect it, the more they're forced to eventually turn around one day and come to terms with this and face the music. So my advice to anyone starting out, this isn't that important if you're at the below 7-figure level. But if you're at the 7-figure level and you want to take it up a notch and you want to scale to 10 million plus, this is a non-negotiable that you're going to have to deal with, or you're going to have to deal with repercussions somewhere else. But yeah, this is a model that we've tested, we've done, and we continuously are pouring everything into. So we'll touch on it more as we, share more experiences and fulfill this for some of our partners. So if you guys enjoy this, let me know in the comments below. If you have any other videos or topics that you want me to cover, drop them in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.